Hey folks, welcome back to my channel. I've decided to take a look at Field of Glory Empires again, and the reason is that there's been a bit of a buzz about the new version of the game that's coming out soon, Field of Glory Kingdoms. Now, that's probably not a very good way of describing it. It's not necessarily a new version of the game. It's more accurate to say that Slytherin and Agiod, the developers, are actually publishing a new game in the series. This is an amazing game. I think that I claim that it's one of the better grand strategy games that we've seen so far. I think it's, at least for me, a lot more interesting and fun to play than the Paradox games because one, it's turn-based, and two, it's tight. And tight games are what I'm all about. Like, if a game has got tight gameplay, then that just makes me happy. Sorry folks, I'm just going to turn this music down because even with my reduction in volume, it is incredibly loud. So I'm just going to drop it down a little bit so that I can hear myself think. Okay, so yeah, this is a great game, and I want to play it, and I want to show you why I think it's a great game. And I think it's been a while since I played it thoroughly. I had a bit of a blast on it last night, and I got about 30 turns into a campaign, and I think that was about right. It was really good fun. So I'm going to play it on balance. Now, I'm not intending to play this for 100 episodes. Okay, I'm going to play the original Empire's Grand campaign. There is also the DLC campaign that came in, where this one is about the Persian Empire. But this one's also really good. They're both much of a muchness. The one that you play is entirely up to you. Okay, but if you buy the base game without the DLC, this is the one that you get. Let me just read the blurb, okay? The Empire's Grand Campaign from 310 BCE to 190 CE. Okay, so that's 190 AD for all of you people who remember when we used to use AD. So Alexander the Great has been dead for a decade. His successors, the Diadochi, are fighting in the east over the right to wear his mantle or carve out their own realm. In the west, conflict between Rome and Carthage looks to be inevitable. The current year is 310 BCE. History awaits you. Okay, so this is in a period where Rome is, I believe, still a republic, and it's early days for the Roman Empire, or for the Roman Republic, and they will actually go through the Marius reforms and all that stuff during the course of this game. Now, Rome is a really interesting faction to play in this, but I'm not going to play Rome. I'm actually going to play with a smaller faction, I think. Now, I have some experience with one of the nations in the game, and I'm going to play with them because I think they're a really interesting one. This is a great game, by the way, because much like the Paradox games, and the Paradox games are excellent as well. I'm not gonna claim that they're not good games, because they really are. If you like those kind of things, much like the Paradox games, you get to pick like out of so many factions. There's not quite as many choices in the Paradox games, because in those you can literally, like in Crusader Kings, you can literally play as kind of any of these like really small little counties and stuff. But I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to play as Pontus. Now, Pontus is here. Look, this is Pontus. And Pontus they're in the black, they're on the sort of, they're a Hellenic nation on the this part of, I guess this is Turkey, is it? This is modern day Turkey. So anyway, it's here. Sorry, my geography is really poor. But yeah, they're basically on the Black Sea. Now they're a Hellenic nation, so they are Greek. They do come from the Greeks originally. Again, this music's just really loud, folks. I'm just going to have to turn the music off, I think, because it's just too much. You guys probably can't hear it, but it's just really loud for me. Bear with me. It's one of those games, unfortunately, but it's got a really good soundtrack, but it randomly, well, as part of the music, it swells and gets really loud. So I can't hear what's going on. Okay. So yeah, I'm sorry if the music's a little bit too quiet. Just forgive me, but it's this music track. It just kind of gets really big. Okay, let's get back into this. So I'm going to play as Pontus. Pontus has got some interesting mechanics in the game. Yeah, so it's the era of the Diadochi or the Diadochi. I don't know how you pronounce that. I think it might be Diadochi. But this is the Antigonids here. So you've got Antigonos controlling this area here. You've got Lysimachos here. Then you've got Ptolemaios, who has Ptolemaic Egypt. Sorry, they're also a Hellenic nation. And then we've got Seleucus, and these got some interesting mechanics where, as their large empires begin to break up, the other Diadochi can kind of like steal territories from them. I'm not going to go too much into this. If you've not played this game, it's kind of complex. Like I understand a lot of the Ageod games are. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to explain it as I play. The main reason for me showing off this game is because I want to show you that I think that it's got some of the best game mechanics that we've yet to see in any grand strategy or 4X, kind of like game. This is not a 4X game, but it's very, it's kind of got similar gameplay to a 4X. So I consider like grand strategy as an evolution of 4X. Actually, I think this is a bit of a weird, unpopular opinion, but I think that 4X was kind of like where board games and war games were trying to get closer towards being grand strategy games in some sense, and they went off on a weird tangent, and then everyone liked them because it was a really great tangent, and they've kind of developed off in their own way. But but I want to show off what I think that this is nice about this game and what it adds to the genre, because I think that Ageod knocked it out of the park with this one. And the lead developer Pontus is a bit of a genius in my opinion. Now, I'm not the person to completely show you exactly what's going on with this wonderful game. It's so big, and there's so many different factions, and a lot of them play very, very differently. The major nations all have got really interesting mechanics, and a lot of the remarkable nations as well here. These are the ones that are, a lot of these have just got completely different mechanics. You've got like Hellenic factions, like what I'm playing. You've got kind of like the Macedonian kind of based, Alexander the Great and his father, I forget his name now, but they're kind of like hoplites and phalanx kind of fighting style is well represented by these guys. Egypt have got their own kind of flavor. Antigonids have got their own flavor. You've got kind of Scythians with the kind of like cavalry. You've got the Germanic tribes in the north. You've got the Celts and the Picts, in Britain. Then you've got like the Gauls. You've got these kind of Gauls, these Celtic Gaulish kind of people who are down in Iberia. You've got Carthage, which is different again. You've got Numidia. Like, it's just, there's Arabs. It's awesome. This game is so cool. It's a historical game, obviously. Let's go with Pontus. I'm just going to read the context anyway. So, Pontus established itself as an independent kingdom in 302 BCE. It survived a defeat by Antigonus and managed to drive off a Seleucid invasion in 2080 BCE. This is giving you a bit of a clue, by the way, as to what can happen, although the game is random, so it doesn't usually follow history. After this, it slowly expanded into Asia Minor and had fluctuating relations with its neighbours. Called upon by the kingdom of Bosporus to help against the steppe nomads, that's these guys here. So they were helping against the Scythians, I think, and Sarmatia. Where are we? Called upon by the kingdom of Bosporus to help against the steppe nomads, Pontus absorbed it entirely. Originally allied with Rome, it even sent a small force to help out in the Third Punic War, but the emergence of Mithridates VI changed this. He started by making gains at the expense of Armenia and was able to expand into Bithynia as Rome was absorbed in civil war and a major revolt in Spain. In 89 BCE, he invaded Asia Minor and Greece, pretending to deliver the Hellenes from Roman rule, but was forced to abandon his gains in 85 BCE. This led to further wars and a complete Roman victory by 64 BCE. After this, the southern half of the kingdom was absorbed into the Roman province of Bithynia, but client kings retained some independence in the north of the Black Sea to 62 CE. So I think traditionally Pontus actually became quite big. This is one of the major players in this area, but you start really, really small and quite weak at the start of the game. However, you have a nice starting army, and it's enough, at least on the the sort of lower difficulty settings, to be able to kind of just take some of the stuff around you if you want to. In my test game with them the other night, I antagonized Antigonus a little bit too early, and he came and just stomped me. So you have to wait really for the Diadochi to start to break up before you can really safely fight them, because they have a lot of units that are, you know, kind of left over from Alexander the Great's big expansion. By the way, just to, for those of you who don't know, if you look at where the Seleucus is, the Ptolemaic Egypt, Antigonids, and Lysimachos, right? This is how far Alexander the Great's empire stretched out. It was like this, and I think he went right over here as well. This is like some crazy territory, and you'll see that it's broken up between the generals that kind of took over his lands. Anyway, gameplay. Your main challenges are powerful neighbours and an empty treasury. However, Pontus is interesting as you have so many opportunities to expand, and you can emerge as the main power in the Black Sea region. Your best chance may come if either the Antigonids or the Seleucids start to collapse. You have the Hellenic Sotor modifier that will favour conquests of Hellenic regions, but will penalise you once you expand in other foreign regions. Equally, at the start, you will soon gain access to pirates, and these can be very valuable at looting and earning you much needed income. Yeah, you'll see me do that. So we've got some modifiers. Hellenic tradition. Okay, so you get a culture. This basically gives you a culture bonus, a commerce bonus, but you get a manpower penalty. So the Hellenes also get a bunch of buildings that you can build. Now, this game has a really interesting industrial and economic and cultural production system, I guess. You know, the economy of the game is so good in this game. We're shipbuilders, so we get a bonus of 1 experience points to ships when they're created. We have this faction modifier called the Hellenic Sotor. So what this means is we can more easily take and hold any region that is Hellenic, whereas we get and we get less decadence from doing so. And I'll explain decadence in a minute. But when we take non-Hellenic regions, so for example, if we were to like these guys are Semitic, okay? So if we were to take a Semitic province, we actually get more decadence for that. Whereas the Hellenic, it's very easy for us to take and hold without creating decadence. Now, decadence is an interesting mechanic which prevents you from just map painting willy-nilly. You can map paint in this game, but there's a way of doing it. Okay, we've got low military expertise, so that means our leader force pool is less, and we get worse leaders. So this is a real problem at the start of the game. We also get a penalty of 10 experience points when a new unit is created. So we don't have the best military, and we are a monarchy. The monarchy is ruled by a king with some form of government for counselling. The military is often well trained and ready to go to war at the king's order, and we get a bonus of 10 experience points when a unit is created. So this monarchy actually negates this low military expertise experience penalty that we get. Okay, so we don't have the worst troops. This mostly affects our leaders. All right, let's go. So again, the game, while the game's reloading, it just tells you the context and the gameplay blurb. Here we go. So we start, and this is a grand strategy game. Now, the goal of the game, the way the game is kind of played and won, is you have legacy, okay? And the idea is not to map paint. You know, you don't want to be. It's unlikely that you're just going to take a whole, you know, the whole map. And it's difficult to do that in Paradox games as well, but you know, people figure out how to do it, and it's the same with this. You can kind of do it, but it's really a long-term challenge, and you have to play the game very well in order to be able to do that. And especially on the higher difficulty settings, it's quite difficult. The way that you want to play, and the reason why this is a great one for YouTube for me, by the way, is because I can play this game for 20-30 turns, and I could put it down and then check how well I've done. And if I've got a high legacy, then, you know, it's like a high score table almost. But it's just a really interesting way of working. Now, legacy is generated in multiple ways, and we'll come across that as we go. But you'll see that there's a legacy ranking table. Now, we're quite low down on the legacy ranking point, because this is searching by legacy points. But you'll see, as we play the first few turns, that Pontus is actually in a bit of a bad way with regards to decadence. So, we've got this, the historical cultural value. And this is the average of historical and current loyalty weighted culture production. So we have we can produce culture essentially, and I'll show you how that works shortly. But the more cultural buildings and the more culture you're producing with your population, the more it will offset decadence. And decadence just is a natural thing that grows. And you know, decadence has sources, so certain buildings will create it, certain structures will create it, events will create it, the size of your nation creates it. So you have to. This is a really cool mechanic that stops you just, you know, charging out and taking loads and loads of provinces all at once without focusing on your own cultural development and your own, you know, economic development. To explain this a little bit further, when you've got provinces and they're broken into regions. Okay, so sorry, we've got regions and they're broken into provinces. So you'll see here, look, we've got this provinces overlay. This is Pontus. 1, 2, 3. These 3 provinces here. We've got Amnias, Polymonia, and Chalybia. These are all part of Pontus, and when you get all 3 of them, you get a bonus. You can then start doing more stuff with them. Okay. So you want to take provinces, very much like in Total War. Yeah, it's very much similar to that. Also, once you've got these provinces, or once you've got these regions, you'll start to grow population, and population, you know, is grown with certain kinds of building, and the populations can be freely assigned to producing culture, to producing money, or they can produce infrastructure. And infrastructure is a resource that you use in order to build more buildings, and then you can also build food. So you can get them to work in the fields too. Also, you've got different types of citizens. You've got slaves, and you've got you know, citizens, so to speak. Now you'll see that if we wanted to put our citizen into culture, we'd get 6 culture points for this one. But if we then wanted to put a slave in there, we'd only get 2. So slaves are better off working in the fields and on building projects, whereas money and culture are better off working with citizens, full citizens. Okay, at the start of the game, we probably don't want to be making money. We have a very, very small income, but yeah. So what happens is, in a nutshell, you want to grow your population by building kind of farms, these kind of buildings, and infrastructure stuff. And then you've also got equipment and manpower, which go towards for building armies, basically. So certain buildings generate manpower, certain buildings generate equipment. And then you also have metal, which is used for some of the higher tier units, you know, the armored units. Those are all to do with infrastructure, essentially. You've got money production and economic production buildings, and then you've got the cultural production buildings. And the great thing about this game, this is the genius mechanic in this game, is that the buildings that you can build, that you get to build every turn, are randomized from a pool of available buildings. This represents certain opportunities coming up, for certain things to be built in this province. So, there's the opportunity to build a pirate's lair, for example, which is a really good building for us. And so it's like they're saying basically, mechanically, the reason why this is great is because it means that there's no-brainer building queue. Okay, you can't just go, okay, well, I'm going to build my farms first, then I'm going to build this, and then I'm going to build that. It doesn't work like that. That's boring. This is really interesting because now you have to really consider, what you can re-roll, by the way. So if you don't like the choices that you've got, you can spend a turn. You wait a year, and then you can, or however long the turn will be. At the moment, it's 1 year. And then you can kind of re-roll it and get something better. Buildings take infrastructure points, take building slots, and your building slots are limited to the amount of population you've got. So really, you kind of want to be growing population at the start of the game to increase the amount of building slots you've got, and then you want to go into infrastructure and money and culture. Combat is basically you have armies, you build armies, and your armies are formed into these stacks. You give them a general. And then you go and attack. Now, and the end, each province will be guarded by a certain amount of units. What we want to do at the start of the game is we do want to take, for example, we want to take Chalybia here. Now, Pontus do have some good forces, but we want to build some more units. Now, remember, units are built from an equipment pool that you've got, from metal and from manpower. Let's see what we start off with. We've got 2 war chariots, which are good units. But they don't fight well in forest, swampy, or mountain. Okay, we're going to be fighting into mountain here, so these aren't going to be so good. You've also got a combat width, which is the amount of troops that can hit one another, in one combat. So certain battles, like in mountains and in choke point there's certain choke point battles, like in sieges, for example, you can only get a few units in. So it's possible in this game to defend mountainous terrain and certain kinds of terrain very, very well with very small armies against very, very large ones, and you can quite easily win. It's a really, really cool combat system. This game also has the capability to export games out into Field of Glory 2. It's a really, really cool feature. I would advise you don't bother for the time being, because it just makes like playing a game of Field of Glory 2 takes ages. It's a great game, by the way, and it's a wonderful feature, but I do wonder if part of the reason why this game, I've seen a lot of comments in Explorminate and outside where people were saying, oh, I didn't buy this game because I didn't want to have to buy Field of Glory 2 to get the full game. And it's like, no. No, you don't. That's not the full game. This game has got its own wonderful combat system. You don't need Field of Glory 2. That's just the cherry on the top. And actually, I really think that this was the big problem with this game, was that Slytherin pushed that quite hard, even though they did tell people that you don't need it. But because people felt like they were missing out, I think a lot of people skipped on buying it, and that was a real problem. So I really hope they don't push that too hard this time with the new Kingdoms version that's coming out, because I think that was a real mistake, in my opinion. But I'm not into marketing. I'm not a so I'm not going to tell Slytherin their job, but I've just seen dozens of comments. If I had £1 for every comment that I saw where somebody said they passed on this game because they didn't want to play it because they didn't have Field of Glory, then I'd have about £30. That's at least 30 people put off by that thing. Okay, so what we want to do in this game is we want to take Calabia here first, and then we are going to try. I think we're going to go toward Paphlagonia here. Now, if we just turn on the cultural overlay, ethnicities here, you'll see that we've got these guys are Hellenic. These ones are not. These are Semitic here in this region, in Hallis. But Paphlagonia, Parthenius, and Sangarius, all of these, I believe, are Hellenic. Yeah, you can tell because they're blue. So any Hellenic province we can take without generating excessive decadence. What decadence does, by the way, is that you have this government type, and this is currently on a stable monarchy. And if you go down the decadence rankings, or the cultural rankings, basically, I forget what it's called now. Back to the progress and decadence. Here we are. Look, if we go, if this historical cultural value and the decadence value ratio starts causing a decadence issue, then what will happen is you'll start going down in the rankings, right? So you got the decadence ranking, or the legacy ranking, cultural decadence ranking. That's the one. And look, we're already in the bottom third. Now, if you're in the top third, you have a chance every turn to generate a token. And if you get 5 of those tokens, you'll go up to the next level of culture, basically. And what that does, it gives you big bonuses. But if you're in the bottom third, like we are, every turn you've got a chance. I think it's 30% chance. You get a chance to generate a negative token, and the tokens can drop you down. And what will happen is when you drop down from stable monarchy to old monarchy, you'll start getting this old age penalty, which means you get a loyalty penalty, an infrastructure penalty, manpower penalty, commerce penalty, and you'll get even more decadence. Okay, so what happens is it's a bit of a slippery slope, and then from old you'll go down into decadence monarchy, and this will give you even more penalties, and then you can go even further. What will happen though is if you go down from decadent monarchy, what will happen is you'll then kind of have a revolution of some kind, and you can your empire will either split up, or you'll go into a different type of government, or you'll go back to stable. It's really interesting how it works. This is to basically represent that empires, when they get to a certain size, they begin to have internal strife, and it's a really fantastic way of modeling the corruption and the infrastructural and logistical problems that you get running a big empire. There is no other game that I know that does this, and it basically means that map painting is much more. It's if you want to map paint in this game in a big way, you've really got to play very, very carefully, and you've got to play slowly as well, because the game works in this score system. What will happen is that you've got I don't know, about 500 turns, I think. So you're just basically playing as long as you can, and if your empire is defeated, you don't lose the legacy points, right? Because you're playing for legacy. So what happens is, if let's say, like in my other game where I got beaten by Antigonos, I would have been knocked out of the game probably by about turn 40. I would still accumulated a bunch of nation points, and then what you can do is you can say, okay, I want to play as Antigonids now, so you can just switch over and you can play as these guys instead and carry on playing. But then your Pontus will have generated a legacy score, and you can still achieve a victory with them. Also, it's possible for them to come back into the game and their legacy still continue, I think. So it's really, this is such a cool game. It's a storytelling game in many ways, and it's just a mechanically very, very solid, tight game. Much tighter than the Paradox games, in my opinion. All right, let's play a little. So, gosh, yeah, it always takes me a while to explain a new game when we come to play it, but I want to show you why I think this is such a great game and why I'm excited for Kingdoms, and why it is that so many people are kind of, people who know the game series are really excited for this new game. So our first plan is we want to take Cappadocia here. We should be able to take it with what we've got. I think what I'm going to do is, though, I'm actually going to recruit. We get some special archers here called the Pontic archers. These are what are called a provincial troop. That means that they can only be built in certain provinces, and I think you need Polemonia here to build them. You might be able to build them here too. But anyway, recruitment is done on a provincial level, yeah, rather than a region-based level. So when we recruit troops here, they'll recruit into the capital part, which is Polemonia. So let's get some Pontic archers, and what we've got at the moment is 2 war chariots. We've got 2 Lydian archers, which are a skirmisher. Then we've got 4 citizen hoplites. Remember, this is the era of basically a line of spearmen face one another. You try to flank each other. Then you've got skirmishers who kind of like whittle the enemy forces down before they meet, and then you've got chariots which attack on the flanks, basically, to try and flank enemies. So the game, the game is really interesting the way it works in combat. It's quite simple, but it's also really, really engaging. It's an auto battler, and I love auto battlers when they're done right. Okay, so let's get back to our region. So you'll see here we've got 1 unit queued. Let's see if we can get some more citizen hoplites. Okay, so we've only got enough equipment to basically build the Pontic archers this turn. So we'll get those guys out. Now we're going to look at the buildings. If we go to the trade overview, this is where this game can get a little complicated, but don't worry, it's really not that complicated. It just looks it. So provinces produce natural trade goods, and then you can manufacture certain trade goods as well. What that means is you have natural resources in certain places. Like, for example, here we've got iron. We've got, in this Amnius, we've got nuts and seeds. Now, the nuts and seeds can be traded to other nations that need them, and they are used in buildings, okay? So the trade, all the trade goods are used, okay? So, for example, you'll see here, the structures that need iron are an iron mine. Sorry, structures that need iron are the iron mine, the furnace, the weapons manufacturer, tools manufacturer, the deep iron mine, and the arsenal. And then there are other buildings that use it as a bonus. So if you've got this, and that's armorer, master armorer smith, blacksmith, master blacksmith, bloomery, and the army provisioner. So for example, if you've got an armory, if you've also got metal, you don't need metal for the armorer to work. However, if you've got the metal, you'll get an extra bonus. So you want to get as many of these trade goods as possible, either by trading them with your allies, or you don't have to be allies. You can trade with everyone pretty much, apart from people you're at war at. But if you are trading in essential buildings, right? If you're, let's go back to the trade details here. Let's say that you have an iron mine, right? And you don't have iron. Well, you're gonna have to trade it, and that will be expensive in terms of money. So then you're going to have to put more of your people, instead of working in the fields or in the infrastructure, you're going to have to put them into the money, into trading and making money. So building buildings, construction of buildings that require trade goods that you do not have access to is very expensive, but sometimes you've got to do it. This is one of the best trade systems I've seen in any game. The great thing about it is the trade is all automated. You don't have to do any, there's no micromanagement of trading. There is a little bit of, you've got to think carefully about what you're building, where you're building them. And remember, all your building opportunities were randomized. This makes the game so addictive, especially for someone like me who loves randomized content. It's just so cool. Anyway, so let's have a look at Polemania. What do we want? We've got the option to build a ranch, which produces cattle. Now, cattle can be used in farms. It immediately gives you a 5% 5 food boost, so will help our growth. We've got the option to build clean water. This comes in 1 turn, gives us 5 health. I think I might go for this because getting 5 health actually assists in population growth. It also, I think it does it, if I remember right. I think it does. It also affects disease events, and they're really quite serious. We've got quarry, which will reduce health, but also it produces stone and it gives us infrastructure. So 10 infrastructure is really good, so we can build stuff quicker. We've got a weapons depot. However, we haven't got any weapons yet. Now, we would get... This is good because it gives an equipment stockpile of 30. So we can basically arm our troops faster and gives us siege resistance. But yeah, this is actually fine to get. If we had weapons as well, then we would get a bonus of 10 equipment, I think that's the equipment bonus. Yeah, missing bonus of 10 equipment, that's right. So we could actually get 40 if we had weapons too. So you're starting to see how this works, right? We've got a pirate slayer. The pirate slayer is nice because we can build pirate ships. I don't know if I think we've already got one of those up though. Yeah, we've already got a pirate layer here. Look, in Amnias. Yeah, we've got a pirate slayer and we've got an orchard. So you'll see here the orchard gives us 10 food, including a 5 bonus from nuts and seeds. We also get an extra 5 food each for figs and dates. So if we can get figs or dates in, that would be great too. We don't have it currently. Now, we do know, if we turn on the trade overview, trade goods overview, but there are figs and dates nearby. But you've got a trade range, okay? And this is the blue number here. And this is the amount of hexes. Sorry, this is the amount of regions distant you can take, you can start trading for. So we've got a trade range of 3. They've got figs over there, but that's 4 away. Look like it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we increase our trade range with buildings, we would actually be able to then start trading for these figs. We can also trade our goods out to other people. This is a really, this is not just a combat game. This is a really wonderful, wonderful economic game as well. It's really good. So you'll see that we're actually importing wool and we're importing hemp. Now we are needing wool for... Let's have a look what we're needing that one for. It'll be here. Yeah, we're importing wool for the archery. And we are importing hemp, I think, for the... Yeah, it's going to be for the harbour. So we're actually paying 4 gold here for the hemp that we're importing from Kolua here in Kolkis. And we're importing... Where are we? Yeah, we're also importing the wool from Hallis. Hallis is over here. There we are. We're importing wool from Hallis. This one here, look, in Paphlagonia. So, and that's costing us 4 money as well. So we want to be making these ourselves, so we're not actually importing it. All right. So early doors, we don't need a large army. So I don't think we need the equipment. I did quite well without building any equipment. Folks, Polymonia. So yeah, I think we'll pass on the weapons depot. We don't need the pirates. I'm not going to build this yet. This gives a public loyalty bonus and gives you public debates. Now, I forget what public debates does. I think there's a load of other mechanics in this game. There's loads of decisions you can make. There's like little bonuses you can play, a little bit like the stratagems in Shadow Empire. I think the clean water is a good one. This will give us a bonus, and it only takes 1 turn. You don't need to actually assign anybody to infrastructure to do it. Now, you'll see as we move people around, food, we've got 10 food already, and we've got plus 13 per turn. If we put a couple of people out of that, we're now only getting 3 per turn. Instead, we're now getting some in infrastructure. You will stockpile anything that's made into here. Any points that are produced there will go into the stockpile. But at the moment, I want growth. Growth is really important. So I'm actually going to put 3. By the way, if you lose infrastructure and you've got no infrastructure, you could potentially lose your building. So you really don't want to do this. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that guy back there, and so we've got a slave working in here. But so we're still getting plus 3 infrastructure, but we're going to be taking 4 turns to grow, and I want to be growing population as quickly as possible. The health building will help with this. Okay, now let's look at this one, Amnias. Shepherd House will give us 5 food. Now this produces wool. Now this is great. I think we definitely want to go for this. Also the fishery is nice because it gives us food and it produces fish. Although we are missing a bonus from sales, but fish is a really good one. We will want that. But I think the Shepherd House is going to be the one to get here because this produces the wool that we're using in our archery here. It means we'll no longer be trading for it, and we'll be able to trade ours out. So we're going to get more money overall. Okay, so we've already figured out what we're doing there. Now this is going to take 5 turns. I think it might be worth rushing this. So let's get it out in 3 turns. Now, this is slowing our growth right down. We're only relying on the orchard now with nobody working, you know, no extra people working in this. However, this will get this shepherd house out early, and we'll get that bonus earlier, and then we can move people over back into growth. This game does encourage micromanagement of, you know, of your populations. You don't have to do it, but if you do it, you will get bonuses. Okay, that is one problem with the game, I'd say. It's not a problem in that you don't have to do it, but you know, if the fact that you can do it and get bonuses for some people will be a problem, and I acknowledge that can be a bit of an issue. By the way, we've got people working in culture, and we're going to need to do that, by the way, on this game, because otherwise we are going to drop down out of culture pretty quick. But I think it's important to get these buildings up first. You'll see when we roll the turn on what I mean there. Okay, I'm going to play just one more turn quickly, guys. So this is the end of the first turn. Wow, 35 minutes to explain the game. There's more to explain as well, but I've got the meat of it. I've showed, like, if you are not interested in a let's play, you've now seen a lot of what I think is good about this game. Okay, so you know, if you're not interested in watching the let's play, feel free just to, you know, to sign off here. I wanted to show you that trading system, and I wanted to show you the economic stuff. Here, you'll notice that we've actually gone 30 points upwards in this culture and decadence ranking. This is really good, because it means we're out the danger zone here. I was smart and left some people generating culture. If you stay down in this like range here, then you'll start look, some of these guys have started getting these aging tokens. So you'll see out of all of these in the bottom third of the CDR ranking, they've started to generate these tokens, and the more, if you get 5 of these tokens, bang, you go straight down to the level below, and that's a real problem. And you'll notice that the ones in the top quarter will start to generate these other tokens. Carthage has already got a bunch of progress tokens for some reason. So did some of these as well. Here's the legacy ranking. So this tells you where you are in the you know, the ranking in the game. We're joint 31st. Okay. Let's get one more turn out. So these guys are still building the shepherd house. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put some more people back into food here, because it looks like, yeah, we'll be able to get the shepherd house out next turn. We also got we've got another Pontic archer here, so I think we can probably, this army here under Vasio, he's got an offense rating of 1, defense rating of 0. His health is excellent. He's disorganized, which gives him a movement penalty, which is a bit of a problem. We've got kind of crappy armies, I'm afraid, but we're going to use them anyway. So we're going to move here into Chalybia, and we'll fight that next. You'll see it fighting over the next turn. Now Palomia has got 2 slots, so we've actually grown in population. Let's have a look what we can get this turn. Okay, so we've got the option to get the shepherd house again. We don't want to bother with that. We can build a training ground here. That needs flax, but we can import it from Hallis, and that will unlock armored hoplite. Now these are really good troops. We've also got the expert stone cutter. This takes 10 turns, and it gives us 5 infrastructure. That's probably not enough for 10 turns, I'd say. Obviously it'll be less if we put more people into building it, but I think this is kind of expensive at the start. We've also got the garum shop. This gives us 8 money, this is including a bonus for 4 from the fish, and 4 food, including the bonus from the fish. If we also had missing bonus of 2 food and 4 money from salt, and we also need olive oil, which we need to import that. So the importation costs is, I think, included in the money that we're going to make here. This is a really good one to get early because it gives you food and money, and I think I'm going to go for that because it's quite cheap. So, and it might be worth just rushing to get out early, because it's going to give us that food bonus. And even though it's going to slow our growth down overall, you know, the extra food bonus is really helpful. I'm going to keep having somebody working in culture because we want to climb in higher in that CDR ranking. Okay, that's about it. That's all we can do for this turn. We have got pirate ships we can start building, but I want to build up some income first. I made the mistake in my last game of being a little bit weak. Now you can start making money with pirate ships pretty quick, but they take, let me have a look. Yeah, these are 10 equipment, and we've only got 10. So we'd only be able to build 1 this turn, look. Oh no, we got 2. Okay, what's going on there? Let me just close this up. Okay, so we've got plus... I see what's happening. So we've already got 10 in the bank, and we're going to be making 25 next turn, which means that we can actually get 3 of these. next turn because it's including what we're going to be making. It's very, very nice. This has got a great UI as well, by the way. This game is one of the examples of a game with a really, really good user interface. That is, you know, it feels different to the sort of template UI that I always complain about. It's just a really, it's not that different, but it's really, really nice to use. It's got a wonderful UI. It's really, really easy to navigate as well. And it's a complicated game. By the way, we've also got diplomacy in this game. We can make diplomatic requests of people. So we can talk to Antigonos, for example. He's not that keen on us. He's kind of distant from us. We could talk to Bithynia here. We could talk to Lysimachos, Macedonia, like all these different places. But we might want to trade with, for example. You can offer them gifts, raising relations. You can get alliances. Diplomacy is kind of simple in this game, but it's meaningful. So, you know, it's mostly to do with wars. You can trade with anyone, so you don't need to do trade agreements with people. Basically, you just trade. You know, trade is a natural thing that happens. But the happier you are with people are with you, I think the better trade prices you get. I don't need to worry too much about trade. I think I'm going to go to war with Paphlagonia here. Now, they've got a full alliance with Lysimachos, though. That means we're going to be at war with one of the Diadochi. But I think Lysimachos aren't that strong. Out of all the Diadochi, they are... Look, I mean, Antigonos is huge. So is the Egyptians. You know, the Ptolemaios. And Macedonia are going to be strong. Lysimachos, I don't remember them being that strong. So I think we could probably attack these guys and end up at war with Lysimachos. And then try and, you know, diplomacy piece our way out later on. Okay, back to the game. So let's just end the turn there. Okay, so here we go. We've got here's the battle. So it's a battle in Chalybia. The terrain is mountains, so we've got frontage of 5. Defending, we've got Hellenic independence. They've got 9 units. They've only got combat power 25, whereas we've got 9 units, and our combat power is 43. We're going to watch this battle. You can just skip it and view it. Just view a report of what happened. You can also export the battle out into Field of Glory 2 if you're a sadist. I'm really not very good at Field of Glory 2, and I find that when I do export the battles out, I tend to lose them, or I just don't do so well. So let's just watch what happens. Okay, so I'm going to play this turn by turn. You'll see that we've got our citizen hoplites lined up here. We've also so we've got 4 citizen hoplites, and we've also got war chariots. Now the enemy are facing us with 2 citizen hoplites on the front. They've also got javelin men making up their front line. We've got a strong advantage over these guys. Notice that our war chariots can't get out on the flank here because of the combat width. This is representing terrain, okay? Obviously, they're not always going to be fighting in a choke point. This is not to be taken literally. This is an abstract representation of the fact that there's going to be, you know, kind of mountainous terrain and they're having to fight around it. If you actually export the games out into Field of Glory, you'll see a little bit more carefully what the battle terrains would look like. Okay. Terrain defense is 2, which means they get a 2 bonus to their defense, if I remember right. Yeah, so look, their combat rating is 3, which means they get a terrain defense of 2, so their combat rating is 5. That's these citizen hoplites. We've got a combat rating of 5 as well, because we also get a terrain defense, and but we get a general bonus as well. Anyway, so here's the ranged phase. Okay, so what's happened is we've got really good archers. These Pontic archers are amazing, and the Lydian archers are good too. Whereas they just had these javelin men. So what's happened is we've exhausted some of the frontline units. That means that they're going to be less effective when they fight now. So one of our citizen hoplites is exhausted. But we've exhausted some militia hoplites and 2 of their other units. We did a little bit of damage to these Pontic archers here. They've got next turn. Okay, now we're going into the melee phase. Okay, we lost that one. Only by 1 point. So what happened here is these guys came in. You add your combat rating to a dice roll, essentially. So it tells you the dice rolls here, look. They had 14, which was 9, then they rolled a dice roll of 5. We had a lower score. We got 6, but we got a better dice roll. We still lost, so we lost one of our effectiveness points. Once you lose effectiveness points first, then you start losing hit points. Okay, let's go on to the next round. Okay, we won that one. So this was enemy javelin men going up against citizen hoplites. Now these are exhausted, so we'd already lost some of our effectiveness, but Yeah, we actually won that one. So they lost in effectiveness, and they evaded us because they're basically they're skirmishing units, so they're able to kind of escape as these you know, as these slower hoplite units come in. Okay, now we're going to be attacking with war chariots in at the same unit. Oh no, sorry, it's these guys. Oh, we actually lost that one there. So yeah, we this is partly because of our clumsy rating. So we got a low roll as well. Oh, we lost that one. Okay, so we lost a hoplite unit to their citizen hoplites, but we beat their javelin there. Okay, we won. Oh no, they won. Oh wow, they won and they killed us off. Okay, Hellenic Independent won the battle. Okay, so we actually lost the citizen hoplite and Lydian archers. That's a shame. I think we got unlucky there. Like I've won that battle before the last time I played this, so. And I won it easily as well. That just goes to show you just how, you know, the random nature of the game can really kick in. Alright folks, I'm going to end the episode there because otherwise this video is getting too long. So I hope you enjoyed that kind of overview of Field of Glory Empires. You've just seen the very opening parts of the game, and I've really highlighted the key points that I wanted to show you, which really is this incredibly clever trade and industry system that the game has. And it only gets better as you go through the game because... you know, you're kind of like trying to figure out what buildings you want to build compared to the resources that are around you, what you can trade for, what your allies have, what you need to fight for. It's just a great system. I'm going to continue this as a Let's Play. I don't know how long I'm going to play for. I'm not going to play till 500 turns because that's going to take all year. But I will play for a while. So if you're interested in watching a Let's Play, stick around, guys, and I'll be putting more episodes of this out in the week. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. By the way, guys, if you are not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to the channel. It really helps me. It helps push my videos up in the algorithm. You get to see more of my videos if that's the kind of thing that you want to see. Also, if getting a conversation going about the game in the comments section is really helpful. Again, it's algorithmic crap, but also it helps me judge like what do you people think about this game? Are you enjoying it? Do you like the ideas? Do you not like the ideas in it? I'm interested to hear about, you know, what you think about my performance and presentation as well, because the feedback is always really helpful. I do try to make adjustments to the way that I do things to, you know, to make people happy, because I want you to enjoy the videos. And I think my videos have come on a long way purely because of feedback from people who watch my videos regularly. So yeah, I appreciate all criticism, even if it's really negative. Like if you don't like the video, thumb it down and let me know why. I don't mind people thumbing down my videos at all if you don't like them. I'd ask you though to leave a comment and explain why you've done it, because then it will help me to make better videos. All right, guys, thanks a lot, and yeah, I will catch you in the next episode. Take care.